Hello, James Flaten here with the Minnesota Space Grant to talk a little bit about how CAD, computer-aided design, could possibly be used to help organize or at least document a stratospheric balloon payload. So here's the payload I have in mind. I've already built the shell. So basically this is made out of styrofoam. It's got a hole for a camera. It's got a lid, which is not attached. And here are the parts that I plan to put into it. I'm just going to put in two things. One is a pterodactyl flight computer, which needs a 9-volt battery. Two are connected by a cable, and I won't bother drawing the cable on the CAD model, but I do have to bear in mind that there is a cable that goes in a very specific spot on the pterodactyl, and it isn't that long. And then here's a GoPro camera. So this particular GoPro camera has an on-off button on one side. It has a lens that points in a specific direction. It's going to be attached to a frame. And it also will be plugged into a battery through a not very long cable. I want to use Onshape for CAD software. So there are many CAD programs you may be familiar with: Autodesk Inventor, perhaps SolidWorks, Creo. Onshape is a fully online and for students and educators, completely free CAD software. You just need to use a .edu address when you sign into it or when you sign up for an account. So let me sign into Onshape. That's spelled O-N-S-H-A-P-E. So go to onshape.com, follow the instructions to sign in and to get an account. I already have an account, so I just have to enter my password. And it will take me to my Onshape, as in my desktop in Onshape. And so here are the various things that I've been working on. Everything you do on Onshape is actually public, so other people can find it if they know what it's called. So I'm going to go to public. This is what I want you to do. Go to public, and then type in basic ballooning payload. And there it is. Apparently it's not case sensitive. I was actually testing that just now. So basic ballooning payload, and I'm using a PC, so I have a mouse that has a scroll wheel and a right and left button. And so if I right click and say copy workspace, you can make a copy. I can make a copy of this particular document, which already has some parts of the drawing in it. And I'm going to call this basic ballooning payload. Oh, that was a mistake. Copy workspace, basic ballooning payload, video version, create public document. Okay, and then I click my Onshape, and here is that original copy. I'm going to get rid of that one. So here it is, basic ballooning payload video version. I just hit enter too quickly before I renamed it. Okay, if I left click on that, it will open up this workspace. And in this workspace are a bunch of things already drawn. These are called parts. So if I go across the bottom, I see the names of the parts as various tabs. The first part is called top bottom. So that's actually a styrofoam piece. As you could imagine, I will need two of those, one for the top, one for the bottom of my shell. And then there's the long side, which is one of the sides of the box. I will need some short sides to the box too. I will draw those in a moment. Then I have my pterodactyl flight computer. I have a 9-volt battery that it will plug into. I have the GoPro camera. I have a frame that it will mount to, and then I have the battery that it will plug into. So these are the parts. Let me finish drawing the other sides of the box, and then I will assemble all the parts into a single document called an assembly. Okay, on the left-hand side, insert new element, create part studio. In other words, draw a new part. And it's named the part studio 1. If I right click, I can say rename, and I'm going to name this short side. Okay, before drawing anything, let me just show you a little bit about how to get around on this kind of a screen. There's lots and lots and lots of options. I don't even know what most of them are myself, but I will show you at least a few, enough to do this exercise. Before I show you any though, let me just click on Help and Keyboard Shortcuts. I just want to point out that it's possible to do everything I'm doing. I'm using a mouse, but you can do everything I'm doing with the keyboard if you only memorize a few keyboard shortcuts. I will use a few, but not very many, and I will talk you through what I'm doing with my mouse and with my keyboard as I go. Okay, before drawing anything, let me just show you a few things on how to move things on the screen. So if I hold down the right mouse button, I'm holding it down, then I can freely rotate what I'm looking at. On the other hand, if I hold down the scroll wheel, I'm not scrolling, but I'm just holding down the scroll wheel, I can pan what I'm looking at. And as you might expect, if I scroll, it will zoom in and out, and it will zoom in and out about my cursor position. If I happen to get so zoomed in that I can't really see what's going on, I can hit F. F is for fit. And what it will do is it will draw everything on the screen on a more reasonable size so it fits on the screen. So that's one thing worth remembering as a keyboard shortcut, F for fit. Okay. Over here is a cube that allows you to look at the object from different sides. In other words, this is sort of changing the camera view, if you will, okay? And underneath the cube, there's another list, and this list will choose some very specific orientations that are 3D. This one's called isometric, this one's called dimetric, and this one's called trimetric. Personally, I actually prefer the trimetric view because the front, top, and right planes that are on the screen right now don't overlap as much, so I can see all three of them individually. Okay, that's enough. Let's draw something. The way CAD works, generally speaking, is you draw things in 2 dimensions and then you extrude them into the 3rd dimension. So I want to draw the short side, which should be 5 inches across and 4 inches tall to fit my box. I click Sketch, and then it says, what side of the planes shown to you do you want to sketch on? And the answer is, I want to sketch on the right plane, so I'm going to click Right. And then I'm going to use the following keyboard shortcut, N. N in this case says, choose a camera view, normal to, perpendicular to the plane I just selected. So N will make the right plane be flat to the screen. Okay, now that I have a surface on which to draw, I'm going to draw a rectangle. Up here is line, rectangle, circle, etc., etc. As far as the different things you might choose to draw, I'm going to choose rectangle. So I select rectangle, and then I just click on the screen and drag to another location. I haven't paid any attention at all to how big the rectangle is. I'm going to dimension it next. With CAD, typically you draw something that's approximately right, and then you make it exact by using a dimension tool. So now that I have the rectangle, I'm going to click up here on Dimension tool, and that allows me to click the top line, for instance, and then move the mouse up, click again, and it allows me to edit. So I want this to be 5 inches. And when I hit return, it promptly draws that as 5 inches. Dimension tool is still highlighted, so I can go to the side, draw to the side, and type 4 inches. So now I have a 4-inch by 5-inch rectangle. But the sides are all blue. In this case, blue means not fully constrained. So that just means that I haven't told Onshape where this rectangle is supposed to sit with respect to the origin. That's the dot in the middle. So let me continue to use the dimension tool. If I take this line, horizontal line through the origin, click on that, and then click on the top line and draw sideways, it will tell me how far apart those lines are. And if I don't like that, I can edit it. In this case, I want that to be 2 inches, or frankly, half of 4 inches. So let me just type 4 divided by 2 inches. That just means that was a number 4, and I wanted to divide it in half. Similarly, if I were to click on the line that goes through the origin vertically, and one of my vertical lines, draw down and type 5 divided by 2 inches, now I have a fully constrained box. It's drawn in black. Okay, so it's 5 by 4 and it's centered on the origin. I can accept this sketch by clicking the check mark, and then make sure you leave that window open until you're completely done, and then accept the sketch. And then I'm going to go to trimetric. So that means I can see what I've drawn in 3 dimensions, even though it is just a 2-dimensional drawing that's drawn on the right plane. The next thing I want to do is I want to extrude it. So the extrude button is to the right of the sketch button. Click on the extrude, and it assumes that I want to make a solid extrusion new. In other words, something that's not already there. I'm going to use the remove feature in a moment. But this is a new solid extrusion, and it wants to draw it 1 inch. I actually only want to extrude a 1/2 inch because that's the thickness of my material. Oh, but I haven't told it what I need to extrude. I have to choose the object, in this case, the thing I just drew. So there it is. It extruded that a 1/2 inch. I could have extruded it by clicking on this in the opposite direction or the forward direction. For this particular application, it doesn't matter. There it is. I will accept that. So now I have my short side, and if I hold the right button down, right mouse button, I can look around and see the back side and the front side, etc. Okay, I'm going to take the short side tab, drag it over here right next to the long side tab, and then I'm going to make one more short side, and this is going to be a short side that has a hole in the middle for the camera to look at. So I'm going to create another part, very much the same as before. I'm going to sketch onto the right plane. I'm going to hit N for normal. But in this case, since I already know that I want things to be centered on that origin, including the hole, I'm going to choose center point rectangle instead of corner rectangle. Then if I go here, that tells me what is the center of the rectangle. Click once there and draw a rectangle. Click again, and now I have a rectangle that will for sure be centered on the origin. And then I just have to dimension it. So click dimension. This is supposed to be 5 inches. Click on this one, draw sideways. This is supposed to be 4 inches. Okay, I'm done already. Let me accept that sketch. Let me go to trimetric for my view. Let me go to extrude. I need to choose what is to be extruded, and it's extruded at 1 inch. Remember, I only want it to be a 1/2 inch, and I will accept it. So I've just drawn exactly the same thing. This is the short side. But I haven't named it. I'm going to call this, right click, rename, short side with hole. Good. But I haven't drawn the hole yet. So here's my next thing. I want to sketch a hole. And I want to sketch the hole on one of the surfaces of the thing I've already drawn. So let me choose sketch. And then I'm going to choose this plane. So notice this plane is actually a 1/2 inch away from the right plane. This parallel to the right plane, admittedly, but it's actually a 1/2 inch away. It's on the other side of my object. And N to be able to draw normal, just to view normal to that. And then I want center point rectangle, click on the origin, draw the rectangle, and dimension it to be 1.5 by 1.5 inches. Click dimension tool, 1.5 inches. Click here, 1.5 inches. So I've drawn. I will accept the sketch. I will look at it trimetric. So I've drawn something on that surface, and now it's time to extrude, but in this case, I want to extrude cut. I want to make that piece go away. So here is extrude, remove, not solid new, but solid remove. And that's what I want to remove, just that box right there. And it cut through. And so basically, it could have cut a full 1 inch. It could have cut less than 1 inch. In fact, for instance, just for fun, let me say if I cut 0.25 inches, notice that now it's only cut partway through, okay? What I really want to do actually is I want to cut all the way through, which is either 0.5 inches, that's fine. So there it is, all the way through. Or I could say cut through all the way through. That's another possibility. Either way, when I accept it, if I look around, I see that there is a hole all the way through. That's good. So this is the short side with camera. I now have all my parts. Let me see if I can do an assembly. So here we go. I'm going to go to the plus and say create assembly. And the first thing I want to do with an assembly is I want to put some parts into it. So I need to say insert. And let me just insert the parts for the box first, and then I'll put things in the box, and then I'll eventually put the lid on top of the box. So for the box, things that I want are the top and bottom. So I click on that and I place it here. That's fine. So now I have a top and bottom. If I say Fit F, it will make it centered. And if I zoom out a little bit, I can see things a bit better. I need click on the short side with camera. And let me just put that over here. And click on short side. And let me put that over here. So I'm just placing these sort of approximately where they're going to go. Click on long side. I need one long side on here. And I'll click long side, and I need a second long side over here. And I'm going to accept that. I haven't actually mated these things together yet, but these are the parts to the box. Now I just have to mate them. So let me hit F, so that will center it up. And if I zoom around, I can see, oh, this particular side, I can click on any one part and drag it around independently of the other part. So let me just get that part a little bit closer to where it really is headed. Let me get this part a little bit closer to where it's really headed. Okay, there we go. Okay. Mating means telling Onshape, in this case, how the parts that you have are supposed to be related to each other. They should be touching, they should be concentric, they should be tangent, they should be glued together, they should be able to slide with respect to each other. For this particular assembly, essentially everything will be glued together. So let me just draw this over here a little bit farther. Let me start with this base and this far side. So essentially what I want to do is I want to glue the bottom of the side to the top surface of the base. I'm going to use what's called the fasten mate, perhaps called a glue mate. Okay, so if I click fasten mate, it says what do you want to fasten together. I'm going to click the top surface of the base, and then I have to look around and click, maybe zoom in, and click the under surface of this side. And there it is, it's moved the two. Let me accept that and try to understand what happened here. Aha, so here's what it did, is it took that far wall and it's glued it onto the top of the base, but it certainly didn't glue it quite where I was hoping. So I need to do the following. Let me say fit, so I can see it a little bit better. What I want to do, I'm going to grab this and pull it out of the way. Grab this and pull it out of the way so I can just concentrate on those two. I want to go back and I want to adjust this mate. And so I'm going to click on fastened over here. Here's where it has listed the things that are in the assembly and listed the mate. So here's the fastened mate. And when I hover over it, it tells me what's fastened together, those two parts. Okay. If I double click on the fastened mate, it allows me to adjust the mate, and I'm going to adjust it by doing an offset. So I want to offset so that the one part is farther in the X direction and also farther in the Y direction. So let me just change this number to be 2 inches. Wrong direction. It moved the bottom 2 inches to the right, but I really wanted it to be moved 2 inches to the left. So let me try minus 2 inches. It's still not quite where I need it to go. I'm doing this by trial and error, but you can certainly pre-calculate this. Let me try 3 inches. Let me try 3.5 inches. That's looking right. Okay. So basically now at least those two parts are lined up. But I also need to move one of them in the Y direction. So let me just say 2 inches in the Y direction. Well, that was not quite what I was looking for. I try minus 2.5 inches in the Y direction. That looks more promising. Yes. So now I have that side is lined up with the far edge of the base. I'm going to click solve. Turns out that solve sometimes is necessary. If you've done multiple mates and it's forgotten the old ones, you hit solve and then it will update all the mates at the same time. And then I will say accept. Got it. Although it does look like I'm a little bit off right there. Okay, I'm going to move that mate over by about 1/8 of an inch, I think. So let me double click on the mate. And that was the, this one, let me try making that only, nope, wrong direction. .75, how about that? Nope, still wrong direction. Okay, 625. Perfect. Accept. Okay. let me put this one onto that surface as well. So here we go, another fasten mate. Click this surface, look underneath, zoom in, click this surface. And now what it's done is it's moved one of the parts, but it's forgotten about the other mate. So if I hit solve, it will remember the other mate. Let's see what I got. Okay, so now I put that one on, that's fine, but I need to offset these things. Okay, so let me just do the offset. So let's think, is this 3.625 inches? Does that sound right? That doesn't look right at all. That's not correct. That's also not correct. Well, let me just back out of this a little bit. Solve just says, remember what you were doing before. I should be actually moving things in the Y direction, not in the X direction. That's my problem. Okay. So if I move this 2 inches in the Y direction, that was close. 2.5 inches in the Y direction, that's closer. 3 inches, that looks right. Solve, that means remember what you did before, and I'm going to accept that. Okay, fine. So now I have those parts. Hit F. And let's get these end plates on. Okay. So people who do CAD much more than me are much faster than me at this. I will concede that, but I make it work. Okay, here we go. I'm going to place this end plate on top of this surface. Perhaps I'm going to actually make the edge of the end plate to the inner edge of this surface. I think that might work better because those are the same dimension. So let me try another fasten mate. Click on this surface. Click on this surface. That's pretty close, without even any offsets. This says put it on the other side of the line, and that's definitely not what I want. So this was right, but I do need some offsets, and it looks like my offsets better be in the X direction by about half the thickness of the wall. So let me try 0.25 inches as an offset. That looks great. Okay, so now let me put in that last fourth piece, F, to fit. That just gets everything in view. Bring this over kind of close. It's a good idea to have things sort of reasonably close before you try to make them. And if they're not oriented the way you need to, I will show you what to do about that in a moment. So here we go. I'm going to zoom in, fasten mate this surface with this surface. And it did it, but it stuck it way in the middle. So I definitely need to offset that. And I need to offset in the what direction? X direction. I can see the X axis is pointing in this direction. So I'm going to offset that by about 2.5 inches or so. And let's see if that's about right. And it is close, except it should have been more like 3 inches. Or even 3.5 inches. There I have it. Hit solve just to make sure it has all the mates in mind at the same time. And that was a little bit too far. Notice that it's sticking out a little bit too far, so I'm going to click on that fasten mate, and I'm going to go down to 3.25 inches. That's too far. 2.375 inches. That's perfect. Accept. Okay, good. So now I have my box. Let's put some things into the box. So how about I put the pterodactyl flight computer in? I want to put that at the bottom of the box, away from the camera, maybe back in this back corner. So insert pterodactyl. So here's the one thing I noticed, and that is in this corner, let me accept that. this is the corner where the battery plugs into. So that better point into the box, not against a wall. This piece right here in this corner. So here's what I need to do. I need to take this object. If I click on the object, right click on the object, I can get it to open up, turn arrows, and I can rotate this around until it's at least pointing in the right direction. And then I can take it and I can drag it over here. This is approximately where I want it to be, inside the box. On the other hand, it's going to be a little hard for me to see it. If it's deep inside the box, I'll with my mate. So let me just put it up here above the box. And then I'm going to mate, fasten mate. This is the simplest of all kinds of mates. The top of the base of the box with the bottom of the pterodactyl. Hit solve, and then drag it around and just make sure I'm happy with what's happening. Hit F to bring it to the center. I'm okay with that, except I want to push it back toward the back wall and a little bit to its right, or in this case, toward the top of the view. So let me do an offset. I want to push it back in the X direction. I think it will be the minus X direction, maybe approximately an inch, minus 1 inch. Let's see what happens now. Wrong direction, sorry. 1 inch. How about 1.25 inches? Hit solve. That just means, that was a little bit too far. 1 inch would have been fine. There we go. And then let me shift it in the Y direction by maybe a half an inch. Wrong direction, minus half an inch. Solve. There it is. So it's kind of back in that corner. I'm happy about that. And it's above the surface of the floor. That's good. So I will accept that. And while I'm at it, let me put in its battery. So I want to put in its battery right about here in the middle of this wall, right at the bottom. So insert, 9-volt battery, click here. That's oriented the right way. That's good. I don't have to rotate it. I just have to get it inside. So I'm going to bring it up here above the box and then be prepared to mate this wall to this side of the battery. And then hit solve. So solve means don't forget what you already knew about mates. And it looks like the battery is not where I want it along the wall, but at least it is along the wall. That's fine. So I just need to offset it. So I'm going to offset it by some distance in the X direction, maybe about 4 inches or so. Wrong direction, minus 4 inches maybe. That's good. Okay, oops. F to fit. There it is. Basically happy with that, except it's not as far down as it really should be. So let me just offset it in the, what direction is that now? Z direction and the Y direction. Okay. Wrong direction. So if you use this a lot, you will get used to what is positive, what is negative. That was probably too far. Maybe about an inch down instead of 2 inches down. That's close. 1.125 inches down. There we go. Perfect. Solve. Accept. Okay, so there it is. The battery is ready to go. The pterodactyl is ready to go. Let's get the camera in. Fit. Bring it back. Notice that fit didn't make it as big as you might have expected because it's trying to fit the origin and the box on the same screen. So if I hold down my right button and bring it down closer to the origin, so now they're close together, and now say fit, it will actually make it bigger. Insert. Just about done here. Let's get the GoPro camera in here. Where did it go? Did I get it? Oh no. I did not get it. Try again. There it is. GoPro camera. Fine. Click. GoPro frame. Click. Anchor battery. So these are 3 parts. Let's accept that, and let's put the GoPro camera into the frame. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the frame above the GoPro camera, and then I'm going to mate the bottom edge of this hole with one of the edges of the camera to make the camera fit right into that hole. Okay, so here's what I want to do. Here we go. Just trying to get my screen oriented so I can see the things that I need to see. There we go. Oops. Here we go. Fasten mate this edge of the hole with, look at the camera, where's the camera? Okay, I lost it. Try again. And up. Zoom in. I'm going to mate this edge of the camera with this edge of the hole. There it is. Perfect. Solve, accept. Okay. So now I have a camera that is inside of a frame. It's just pointing the wrong direction. So let me right click on the camera, click again, oops, sorry, left click on the camera and spin it around this way. 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, perfect. Aha, but I also want to get the button, which I can see is on this side, to be pointed up. So I better spin it around this way as well. 90 degrees, perfect. Now it's ready to be installed. Okay, so to install it, here's my plan. I'm going to take this edge of the frame and mate it to this edge of the window right here. See if I can do that. Here we go. Fasten mate this edge of the frame right there is going to touch this edge of the window. So accept. Excellent. There is the camera with the button pointing up and it's in the window. The last thing I need to do is take that anchor battery. They fit, I can see the anchor battery. And I just need to put that in. I'm going to put that in right across the top of this wall. So first of all, let me rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it this way. There we go. And let me take a quick look at it. This is a power button right here. This little dot here is power. So I need that to be close to the top, and it is close to the top. So that's good. I'm able to turn on the power. So I just need to take this object and stick it inside of here. How about I plan to mate it such that it's touching the back wall, but it's against the side wall. And so I'm going to just intentionally touch the back wall and then just drag it sideways until it looks like it's touching the side wall. That'll be good enough for me. Okay, so here we go. Fasten mate. Back surface of this touching back wall. And it's not in the right place on the back wall, but at least it is on the back wall. So let me just offset it. And I need to offset it in the X direction. Let's say about 2 inches up. Wrong direction. 2 inches up. That's better, but it was too far. About 1.5 inches. Good enough. And in the Y direction, about also maybe 1.5 inches. A little bit farther. That looks great. So I'll just make sure all the mates are in place. Super. There you have it. It fit for my entire box. Oh, except for my lid. So let me go and get a lid. Insert. This is my final component. The lid, of course, is the same as the top bottom object. So here it is. There's the lid. And the lid is supposed to come off. So in other words, I'm not even going to intentionally mate the lid, although I will just put it down. So I'll try to be realistic with it. Get the lid about where it's supposed to go. There it is, pretty close. Okay, there's a little tiny gap, that's all right. Now, the last thing I want to do actually, which is kind of clever, is I'm going to right click, left click, right click on the lid, and I'm going to make it transparent. There is my transparency. No, there it is, sorry. Come on, stop. Oops, don't do that. I'm trying to get it to forget what I was doing. There we go. Right click, make transparent. There we go. So here's the idea, is there is a lid on there, but you can still see into the box. So it's not going to be transparent in reality, but this allows you to get very nice views with a realistic final condition, which is a lid. Okay, that's it for Onshape. Now let me actually go back to my other camera and see how it actually works. So very quickly, here is my shell. Here's my pterodactyl with its battery. The pterodactyl will fit down in there, top to that corner. Batteries against that wall. Okay, so that's good. And then here comes my, and it does work with the cabling. And then here comes my GoPro camera with its button on this top side. So that will fit right here, and it's strapped against the wall. And the battery goes there. So I can see the camera is looking out the hole. Pterodactyl is in there. The battery of the pterodactyl, which will get strapped against the wall. Put the lid on, it's not transparent. Okay, so in this particular case, I had built the box, and so in some sense, the CAD I was doing was just for documentation purposes. But one could certainly use CAD to decide what the box needs to look like in advance and make sure the parts are going to fit and make sure that the box is big enough, especially if it's expensive to build boxes. It's not a styrofoam, but if that were the case, you definitely want to make sure that you're building the right thing. Enjoy building boxes and enjoy CAD.